My name is Tomislav Ivanjko. I'm 39 years old. I come from the University of Zagreb, Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, and the Department of Information and Communication Sciences. I worked there since 2009. I did my PhD in 2015. And since 2023, since January, I'm an associate professor there. So I basically teach courses, undergraduate, graduate, and postgraduate courses. Some of the courses that I teach are Introduction to Information Science, then Introduction to Knowledge Organization, Theory of Information Science, and Digital Libraries. So these are the main courses, and my areas of research within the department itself. So the department is organized in a way it has an undergraduate study that's the same for everybody, and then on the graduate study we have archives, libraries, archival science, library and information science, museum studies, and then the informatics. So these are the four main graduate studies, and my research interests are mainly connected with the impact of new technologies on the heritage area, on the library and information science area, and a special emphasis on the use of social software, crowdsourcing, citizen science also, and gamification in the field of knowledge organization and the digital environment. Within the broader context of open science, we have within the knowledge organization course, I do teach some of the principles, the FAIR principles of data modeling, and within the metadata section and descriptive metadata, we do cover linked data as an approach. Also, open data is also covered in this course. Same is with the course Introduction to Information Science, where we cover some of portions of the knowledge organization that is connected with open science, and also the scholarly communication. So we do cover some of the topics of referencing and all these ethical and also these important topics. Also, I am one of the authors of the handbook, the referencing in the digital environment, which basically covers a lot of some of the applications of open science and scholarly communication within the digital environment, specifically within the referencing topic. I am currently the lead researcher on an institutional project that is called Citizen Science in Social Science and Humanities, which is basically where we are trying to provide sort of a theoretical framework and explore the benefits and challenges of citizen science and social science and humanistic research specifically, because we have seen from our previous research that most of the citizen science initiatives are situated in the environmental sciences, biology, maybe some in the astronomy or so on, but there are not so many projects and ideas coming from the humanities and social sciences. And since we are from the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences, that's the idea of the whole project. It's a one-year project, so within the project we are also writing a book. I'm co-authoring a book which is called Citizen Science in Social Science and Humanities. Makes sense. That provides basically a theoretical framework for understanding citizen science as a participatory approach to research, and it also provides some of the specific methodologies and approaches that are viable for the social science. The last thing I also have on our in our PhD studies, postgraduate level, I have a course that I teach which is called crowdsourcing and gamification in the cultural heritage section. So this is basically one specific method of citizen science applied to the heritage section, where we try to explore all these approaches and types of motivation that we can apply within the sector. So open science and citizen science is something that I'm very well. I know them very well because I have done a lot of research for the last 2 years on the book and on the courses. Library and information studies, and especially our department, which has also the archival studies and museum studies, which covers the whole ALM or GLAM, or how do you want to call it, sector, the heritage sector, is very, very suitable for to be sort of a starting point or something that could connect researchers with academia and with citizen science. So library and information studies and library and information institutions can really effectively gather these three important components. So you have the academics that want to do some research, you have the materials that are within some of the institutions that you could do some research on, like transcription or something like that. And then you have the institutions that connect these two together. So I think they could serve a good role. They have a good role in this area. They can also provide some of the training, because when you are for the citizen scientists, because to provide some training on how to enter some data, how to collect data, how to get it more valid, and so on. They could also advocate for citizen science. So this is one of the important things, because I think the idea is fairly last 20 years, but in the last 10 years, Europe has started to recognize citizen science as a viable approach. So I think many of the potential citizen scientists and people from researchers from the academia are not aware of the benefits that could arise from this cooperative and participatory approach. So I think that library information studies as an academic discipline could provide theoretical frameworks specifically developed for the library information science sector, and the institutions can serve as a great gathering point of the academia and the people that work, professionals in the institutions. We are currently in our courses, we don't have sort of a dedicated citizen science approach. It's more of a project-based approach that we are trying to develop, because one of the ideas within this project that we are leading is how to integrate citizen science into higher education. So we are just developing sort of a methodology and tools to try to see how to get the learning outcomes, how to get proper validation, how to get the same learning outcomes, but with a more participatory, more action research things. So I think I'm very much a proponent of using citizen science in higher research, and we are currently in the process of we wrote new undergraduate and graduate programs, so the new curricula, and they are being evaluated right now. And as part of the curricula, we have two courses that deal with. One course is citizen science that I hope I will teach along with my colleague, and the other is on the specific application of citizen science in the heritage sector. So these are the two courses that we are planning to do. I think you should always cover it, because within the European policy, citizen science is one of the ambitions within the open science. So you have to cover it sort of like a topic within the general open science and open data, maybe courses. But I think that you should have a standalone course that could cover, because citizen science is a fairly wide field. It's not so easy to get into, because it shares a lot of participatory methodologies with ethnographic research or some kind of sociological. So it's not the easiest. It's more qualitative than quantitative, but you also have to have quantitative measures, because sometimes you have a large number of citizen scientists that you are working with, so a large number of users. So basically, I think you should have a course, and we are planning a course to teach them. And my colleague is already from the department is already teaching a course. Last year he had a course called Citizen Science on our postgraduate level. So basically, we are just trying to sort of get to know people with the idea, with the approaches, with the methodologies, with the frameworks, and all the opportunities that it offers. I think the first thing is the faculty staff doesn't really know that citizen science is a viable approach. So the first thing they have to know is they have to have knowledge of citizen science. So what it is, what kind of approach it is, what can you expect from it, and then when they see all the benefits and the challenges of it, they can see, because we have a lot of project-based work that we do within our courses, and a lot of them are very suitable for sort of a citizen science approach. But again, and a lot of things that within the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences is done under the general name of digital humanities. So a lot of digital humanities could also be easily translated into citizen science, or could be let's say improved by using the different citizen science methods. Next is, I think, they need good, of course, pedagogical communication skills. So to be able to transfer that knowledge within the project-based setting, because that's much harder than it is when you're just teaching something from PowerPoint or something like that. And it would be good that they have some kind of technical knowledge, because today when you're talking about citizen science, you're talking about tools, you're talking about digital platforms, you're talking about a lot of data, so big data, a lot of data that needs to be visualized, that needs to be presented, and so on. So basically, these are the main things, and of course, within all these, so why we want project-based activities is that you develop a lot of critical thinking, right? So you develop critical thinking, you have hands-on work. You don't have just dry papers or something theory, but you have some practical experience, and you see, okay, this theory says this, but in the practical setting, this is actually not working, or this is a better approach, and so on. So this practical project-based approach, which is the core of the participatory approach within the citizen science, I think could be very helpful. These general skills, I think, are there. I mean, everyone who's been in teaching for the last, I don't know, 10, 15 years or something like that has those pedagogical communication skills that are needed. They just have to apply those skills within the citizen science framework. I think these skills are not important, they're not that hard to, because they already have it, but the bigger problem is just to get them acquainted and to get them on board. And say, okay, yes, I have this, I want to teach this outcome. I don't want to teach it for you to write a paper on it, or then present the paper with a PowerPoint presentation. I want you to do some citizen science work. So, for example, let's say you are in art history. So you could write a paper on something, or you can write maybe a Wikipedia article, put all the data into the Wikidata, and enhance open science, enhance open data. And if you have enough people doing this, and maybe you have a dedicated app to do that, which is streamline the process, then you basically have something that is citizen science within the curriculum. So these are maybe some of the opportunities that I see that they can do. Yeah, I mean, it does require practice, because the theory is one thing, but when you get into the problems, and I will discuss my project later that we are doing our case study. When you get into the problems, you see there are a lot of people skills involved, and because you have to coordinate between a lot of different interests, it's sometimes you spend more time, so that the methodological framework is very important. So you spend a lot of time sort of negotiating the ideas and the needs of the needs of the institution. So you have to see, okay, why would the institution do something like that? The needs of the someone who is financing that. Okay, why is this important? Why is this topic be something that we have to finance? The needs of the users, of the citizen scientists. Why would we be a part of this? Why is that important to us? It isn't important. And the needs of citizen science approach, which has to be methodologically and scientifically valid. So you have to have some kind of a framework to evaluate and to get sound scientific results from. So basically, you cannot do all that. You can do it in theory, but when you get into practical things, you see which things work, which don't work. So I think it's for you get to know with some of the ideas. You have the framework. You try to follow the guidelines, but then every project is pretty different, especially because every project is in the different part of knowledge. So it's maybe if it's biology, it's pretty different than if it's art history, or if it's something from the archival science or something like that. So absolutely, to be an effective citizen scientist, and you have to have hands-on experience with the research process. Yeah. Well, first, as I've said before, it's to recognize citizen science as a valid approach. So it's not just okay.
Who should advocate for this?
I think that the first and what we are trying to do with this book and the project is the academia, because they are someone who can write papers, go to conferences, and set an importance. So for every discipline, if you wanted to have a sort of a scientific impact, it has to have its methods, it has to have history, and it has to have some kind of methodology. So academia has to do this, and then it has to maybe here this is where library and information science and institutions can come in, could test all of these theories and connect them with the research. I think that one important thing is, and we've seen that in our research, that creating sort of a single point hub. So if someone is interested in citizen science, hears okay, citizen science, that's something that's I could try the approach. So what do I do? So you don't Google citizen science, how do I do it? But you say, okay, there's a citizen science hub at the National University Library, there's a citizen science hub, and then you can connect them with people that also have done some research, have the methods, have the resources, and that's the general idea of this book, to provide people who are interested in promoting and implementing citizen science into their courses or into their institutions, to have a sort of one-stop resource where they can say, okay, these are the theoretical methodological things, these are the practical things, these are the guidelines, these are the tools, these are the examples of best practice. So that's the general idea. The other thing is, I think that the European Commission is doing a good job on that part, is to try to finance as much projects that have citizen science and open science included in that. So the different parts of citizen science and open science, and to provide specific tracks for just those type of projects. Within our project that I mentioned, we basically had a citizen science activity, which was a study on gathering data, research and description of a segment of the collection of photographs of the Croatian Sports Museum. So it was around 16,000 photographs, and it was projected that if the person running the collection would do it alone, first of all, she didn't have the knowledge, because she didn't know what is in the photo. The photographs were of sports competitions from 1970s to 1990. So she didn't have knowledge on who are the people, what kind of, she could see what kind of sport it is, but who are the people, or what was the score maybe. So the idea was like this. We enlisted the help of retired and active sports journalists that were active in that period, and that covered that sport within that period. So they have a lot of contextual knowledge, history knowledge, and so on, that is basically lost when a lot of them are older. So when they are not here anymore as a sources of information, then those all of these information is pretty much gone. So first, it has to be something that's meaningful. So second, it has to be easily accessible. A lot of projects start with maybe a lot of people registering in the first 2-3 days, and then then just 20% or 15% of people stays. So make it easy to access, and make it maybe the good thing is, make it, if you want to get into the deep of it, so to be very become an expert in it, okay, allow people to do that, but then also have some micro tasks. Just transcribe one word. You don't have to have any context. Or you say to people, okay, this is the legacy of the Croatian writer, and then you can know his handwriting, you can get all these historical things. Engagement is very important, because all these, as I said, that there's these gamifying the user experience, when you have some kind of leaderboards, you have some badges, you have some also external incentives that you can give them. So the people are drawn to be a higher level, they're drawn to do more work, because that gets them something. So the same as you are in games, the higher level gets you more things. It has to be inclusive, so you have to, and that's also, I think, the advantage of this science project, because you get all the different perspectives that you maybe don't have within only the researchers that are experts on the field, which are very focused and very narrow, are provided to the project. Education, educative, because that's also the point of the whole thing. So every time you do something, you learn something. If you are working with some kind of primary historical data and so on, you're also learning a lot about this history and so on. And it has to be sustainable. That's the main thing.